Here now is Callie McEnany. She is Republican National Committee spokesperson, and Juan Williams, Fox News political analyst and co-host of The Five. Juan, I'll let you go first. I mean, there is a new detail coming forth. It seems like every hour here. What's your take?
Well, the key thing is, was the money hush money, Melissa? Because if, in fact, what happened here is that the Congressman, John Conyers of Michigan, used public funds essentially to shut this woman up, to avoid going through the ethics process, avoid any kind of public disclosure about her complaint, then I think the Detroit Free Press is right in saying this is a basic violation of the public trust and he should resign. I don't think we've reached quite to that point of asserting that. Now, Conyers' office is saying that other offices have used the same procedure. I don't know that. I'm interested to find out if this is common. But even if it is common, it still constitutes what strikes me as hush money.
Yeah. Callie, I mean, on top of that, there is the subterfuge. There is what is ostensibly going on elsewhere in Congress. I mean, as we hear about more and more people coming out, you also look at the fact in some of these complaints, one of the women says that she was hired in part because of his age and failing mental capacity. In the suit, it says she was hired to keep track of his whereabouts and call him to wake him up every morning and also to deliver his medication. Is it possible that some of the qualms people are having is that he's 88 years old on top of all of this and he's abusing people who are there to, I don't know, remind him where he is and wake him up and give him his medication?
Yeah, every single one of these needs to be looked at with the utmost of seriousness. There needs to be a broad spread and investigation from Conyers on down. Every single one of these complaints should be vetted. And we need to question why we have a system where when someone makes an accusation, they are forced to go into training and counseling and mediation rather than being ferreted out and forced into secrecy and keeping the identity of the accused secret and paying out hush money. Why do we have a system like that in Congress? It's really inexcusable. And as President Trump said, let's reveal the names of these individuals. Let's find out who the accused are.
Juan, I think what's interesting about this case, and especially when you look at the comments from the women, it's not that they couldn't go, they were afraid to go tell someone because they thought they would be fired. They say they spoke up. They were shut down. You couldn't go work somewhere else because you were right there. I mean, all the normal paths. They're not saying they were afraid to do something about it. They're saying they tried and they were completely shut down. And this is our government.
Well, this is not peculiar to Congressman Conyers. Capitol Hill has tremendous difficulty in dealing with allegations of sexual misbehavior and outright sexual harassment. By the way, in this case, part of the settlement was for the woman to have a no-show job.
Right.
And how can you say
that
that's legit or proper? That's clearly, to me, a misuse of government funds, and it almost is a matter of fraud, because you have situations like that in the private sector, but when you have public funds involved, I think it crosses a line. So the woman, as you point out, Melissa, did in fact make an effort to say something, but in the structure that exists in Congress now, as you listed on the screen, it takes time, leads to frustration, and I don't think it's designed to deliver justice. It's designed to protect Congress and the Congress members.
Kelly, another astonishing thing I found out doing interviews today was that there is no mandatory sexual harassment training in Congress. I mean, I have never worked somewhere where you didn't have to do that. I mean, all companies have that today. Whether it works or not can be debated. But the idea that they don't even have a structure at this point and it's voluntary, that seems astonishing to me. Does it shock you?
Melissa, it's absolutely astonishing. You're right. It's as if congressmen are treated as a different level. They all operate in their own little principalities or fiefdoms. They're not representatives of the people. And when Donald Trump spoke about draining the swamp, everyone had this feeling that Congress operated under a different set of rules. We certainly saw a lot of that during the Obama administration. But then to find out about this hush fund, to find out about how accusers are silenced and forced into counseling, and congressmen get off scot-free without their names being revealed. No sexual harassment training. This is the swamp that Donald Trump spoke of.
Well, wait a second. I mean, it's not a totally partisan issue. I mean, even today we had a Texas congressman humiliated.
Absolutely.
And I think Donald Trump has his own issues. But, Kayleigh, I agree. I think that Congress is basically like, from long ago, an antiquated boys' club.
Yeah. So one thing is we are seeing this across all kinds of industries, obviously. We've seen it in Hollywood. We've seen it in news. We're seeing it in Washington. And I wonder, as these stories pour out, do we begin to be less shocked? I mean, is there a danger that we get sort of numb to them because there is such an avalanche and don't give them the individual attention they deserve? Juan, what do you think?
I hope we don't get to that point, because what we're talking about here, especially with young people, is they're ambitious. And you know what? That's a good thing. You want ambitious young people. You want them to get going. And for people to be trying to take advantage of them, and it could be my daughter, yours,
right.
Kaylee. I mean, it's just wrong, and we should be able to look something in the eye, especially, my gosh, down in Alabama, 14 guys allegedly messing around a 14-year-old girl. I think we got to get beyond the partisanship and say, in this case, with this cultural moment in America, this is wrong.
Yeah. Callie, do you think it is a cultural moment in America?
It absolutely is a cultural moment, and it's one that Donald Trump said should be celebrated, that these accusations are coming out, that they're finally being heard. And I agree with Juan. Look, this isn't a political issue. We've seen it on both sides of the aisle. That is certainly true. But why I bring up Donald Trump in the swamp and why I think this is important is because these men who are doing this are powerful men, be it in Hollywood, be it in media, be it in the halls of Congress. There is a power structure that is set up against the hardworking, forgotten man and woman. That is what the president struck the chord of the everyday American, because they've known for some time.
Callie, do you struggle to say that, though, when the president's had his own accusers? I mean, that's the problem, is when he goes out and he talks about that and you bring it up, it brings to mind his own accusers. How do you respond to that?
Right. Well, many of those accusers, if not all of them, have been debunked. President Trump denied it. He never settled a lawsuit with any of these accusers the way that, let's say, Harvey Weinstein did. And I would just say I personally saw one of those accusers very teary-eyed on air, and a moment later asked for a copy of that clip for her reel with a very excited look on her face. So we've got to look at everything in isolation. The president did nothing wrong in all of those instances.
Well, we will see. Thanks to both of you. Happy Thanksgiving.